It's very interesting that you've applied as a candidate to be the Director of External Affairs. I wanted to ask you firstly how it feels for you to kind of be different to like the sort of status quo with, as in like Chinese, usually Chinese, it's been Chinese directors in this committee and the head of this committee. So what made you make this decision, and how do you think you're going to be navigating it as an international student, and what are the benefits of doing so?
Great. So the Director of External Affairs, I did notice that it was mostly, that the position was mostly filled by Chinese students or Chinese nationals.
Mm-hmm.
So it was for that same reason that I also decided to apply, because when I was looking through all the positions and their job and what they did, their job descriptions, what I wanted to do was really expand the opportunities for students in NYU Shanghai, because in my 1-month semester in New York, I realized how much integrated NYU New York is to New York itself.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, why isn't NYU Shanghai as integrated as we can with Shanghai? And then I realized it's not that we aren't. We are, but not to the degree that we should be. So I felt that um, the lack of equal representation of Chinese students with international students in the External Affairs Committee was really affecting that, in the way that most of the companies that were reached out by the committee were just Chinese or local businesses.
Mm-hmm.
But Shanghai is very international. So we could try and also reach over to international companies that have their, that just as we're a hybrid university, a Sino-American university, there's also Sino-American companies, or companies that are in America, but they have an extension in China. So I felt, well, why aren't we reaching out to the people that are mostly similar to our nature too? So I thought that it is a challenge to be where you're not normally the status quo, as everyone is usually Chinese, so I'm pretty sure they got surprised when they saw me there. But I feel like change is always good. And it's not that I don't want to represent Chinese students, I do. That's why I'm planning on splitting the committee into two, so there's equal representation for Chinese student interest and then international student interest. So yeah, I wanted that. One of the first changes that, if I were to get elected, would make is the fact that it not only Chinese students can do the job. Even though the language is a barrier, I feel like it could also be beneficial for the international students to be immersed more into China than what we are already.
Yeah, I definitely think as a freshman too, it's a very gutsy decision to make, because I think you're very new to Shanghai, and there's like a lot of things that you'll probably like have to figure out in terms of how you're gonna like logistically settle international companies and their sort of alliances with our school. But at the same time, I feel like it's such a good opportunity to learn as well. Can you speak a little bit about like how generally how it feels to be like new to the school and then take on a position that's quite high in the student government?
Yes. So as a freshman, I think that there's actually no better time to do it, because so in NYU Shanghai, we have our years very like planned, right? So the first year, freshman year, you have until sophomore year, and then usually people study away for all of junior year, and then you come back senior year.
Mm-hmm.
So I really wanted to make these 2 first years count in some way, more than just being in Shanghai. So I feel like the best way to actually make it count is reaching out to the connections that we have. And that's why I would technically do it as a sophomore when I would go in. So and that's like the year before junior year, and then come senior year, which I mostly, as you said, I want to go back, but you're focused on other things, I think, in senior year. So
Sure.
yeah, so with that in mind, I just wanted to maximize what I do in these first 2 years, and this was one of the plans. It is challenging to navigate in Shanghai, but I think it's mostly because of the language barrier. But I feel like once you kind of let go and you don't, you're not as afraid as before, because it took me very little to actually adapt to Shanghai, which was very surprising. But I feel like it was because I learned to let go, and that it was normal that I made mistakes, and that it was normal to get lost or to not know how to navigate or do something. So I feel like those experiences are really what get you to where you want to be. So even though I am relatively new to the city, because I was only there technically a semester because of the whole coronavirus situation, that we were misplaced. I feel like the fact that we were misplaced and that I only got to be there for a semester that actually motivates me even more to to be out there and to try and find those connections, and well, hopefully I get like the actual power to do so by the school. But in the best case scenario that I do, that's where I want to reach, and that's where I want to hit, really.
Great, that makes a lot of sense. You talked a little bit about how you want to, one of your main goals as the Director of External Affairs would be to sort of break this culture that's only with Chinese local companies and like grasp more of international companies as well, and our basic relations with them. Could you like talk a little bit about the other challenges, or like even this challenge, and what other challenges has the Director of External Affairs faced in the past, or like you think the student government faces, which you could play a role in to solve or to implement changes with?
So I think that one of the main challenges that especially the External Affairs Committee has faced, it's not just the lack of representation. Like, that's not the main factor. For me, it's the sense of different cultural backgrounds or different type of people that will bring in different ideas. So I think that that's been the since mostly everyone is from a specific background, they all kind of have the same goals and objectives. Whereas if we diversify a little bit, then that means we'll have different objectives while still maintaining the old ones, but being able to innovate into new ones, and people who have fresh ideas, like the ones I'm bringing in, which seem a little hard to achieve, but I feel like with a lot of effort and planning, it could be done. So yeah, I would say the biggest challenge to reaching to these companies, I think most likely will be the fact that, well, we're a committee in a school that they don't necessarily, because NYU Shanghai is big, but I don't think it's like big as other names in schools in China. And that was also another issue for me, because I was like, why isn't our name out there as much as it is, let's say, NYU New York in downtown New York City? So I feel like even if we don't to these companies, to these businesses, will mean a lot, because they might not even know that we exist in Shanghai currently.
That makes a lot of sense. So like reputation of the school, I guess, like bumping that up would be one of the main goals that you have as well.
Yeah,
for Shanghai.
that would be like a kind of like a collateral benefit. Like, it would unintentionally happen, hopefully, even if we don't achieve like the main goal, because they either at the beginning are skeptical, because business is also always at the first shot, they're like, we don't know, like, what are you talking about, or might not even like want to speak to us. But I feel like it's just a matter of finding the right people to get to the right place.
Yeah, fair. I'm gonna play devil's advocate and kind of nag you on the issue of you not speaking the Chinese language. What assures you that this position is still okay for you, or like you'll be able to navigate yourself in a mostly Chinese speaking world in Shanghai?
Yes. So actually gotten that question a lot.
Mhm.
I spoke to the student government advisor, and she told me that it was actually totally fine. That, well, not totally fine, but that as long as that I had like a right hand person that spoke Chinese, like my main I would have like a committee advisor, like my main assistant director will be a Chinese person. So even though I may or may not be the director, there will always be someone by my side who is fully Chinese.
Mhm.
And that person, I mean, we're just gonna do it all, and we're gonna like really work with each other and try to make it work. I know the language barrier is really big, and I know that most of, like, let's say the meetings and all the things that the external affairs director is invited to, that most of them are in Chinese, if not all of them.
Mhm.
So that's why this assistant director would come with me always, up, or either way, like we will find a way to make it work. It's not necessarily because all the committee will share the same values and the same goals. So it's not like it's just me that always has to speak or has to be there. I will be there in representation, but I feel like more than representation of the committee, we also go in representation of the school.
Mhm.
And I just think that it's even a more fair representation of the school if two of us are there, and the two of us are not necessarily both Chinese, because that way they will know, oh yeah, it's NYU Shanghai, they're Sino-American school, they're half international and half Chinese, it's not just Chinese. So
Yeah.
I feel like that conserving really the identity of our school is very important. And even though the language will be a hardship, I don't think it should stop anyone from really applying or from really trying to create change where there's already a status quo.
Mm.
So, and in fact, it's not like can't speak any Chinese. Like I
I'm
can
sure.
understand those conversations. I just can't. I'm just not going to be able to negotiate as well as a Chinese person. I know that. I admit that. And that's why it's not like Chinese people will be left behind, because I can never do this without them. Um, I just want us to work in conjunction. I want us to work together. Even if it's not like I don't want it to be just me. I want it to be both of us. I want it to be both international and Chinese. So yeah, and later on in the long run, it might help me with my Chinese hearing too. So I feel like we both get some benefit out of it.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you for explaining that part. One last question I have, and anything that you want to add, is, oh, what was my last question? I'm blanked out now. um, Oh, yes. My last question is that you brought up the fact that you want to focus on international companies. I know that the director of external affairs also focused, you did bring this up, that you want to focus on this university's reputation as well in Shanghai and things like that. But have you thought about what you want to do in conjunction with other universities? Like affiliations with ECNU, for example, or Jiaotong University, or other universities that are in China? How would you maintain the connection between students from those universities and our student body?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I haven't really given it much thought. For the things that have already worked for NYU Shanghai, I was just planning to maintain those traditions and those partnerships that the school currently has already.
Mhm.
And there would be like a subcommittee that would be designated to that. So yeah, I just feel like maintaining what works already is great. And I haven't really given much thought on innovations regarding what to do with other universities, because I feel like just reaching the companies themselves is going to be a really hard goal to achieve. So if nothing comes up, and if the other one is like takes longer than expected, then just maintaining what works for now I think should be good. And then other than that, like some way that we could innovate our partnerships is for the partnerships to also be with students, like enhancing the connections with students, because I know the school, like we've gone to ECNU because of the affiliations it has with the school, but we don't really know any students from there. Like it's not really common for us to be together or to know each other. So maybe if we did more activities that kind of integrated both, that would be great. And not just like the Chinese students from ECNU, but also international students that are studying there, or also in Jiao Tong University and in all these other universities, I don't know, to Kunshan. So we could do more activities like that, but I haven't really given much thought to it, as I really rather focus on one thing and get it done and maintain the rest as they work right now.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And then also, I just wanted to again challenge you on one point. I'm just drilling you now because you're new to all of this. Do you think that, have you come across do you feel like it's going to be a challenge for you personally, being a first year student and sort of navigating, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sort of like navigating Shanghai itself, because you're gonna have to make so many connections and gonna have to go to so many places and talk to so many, especially with the university sort of issue that I just brought up. How would you sort of ensure that your position as a director of external affairs, you'll be able to fulfill it, even though you're just like fresh off the boat kind of next semester?
Yes, so that's a great point. So I think you touched on a couple of smaller points in that question. So the first one that I heard about navigating, I do not think that will be a difficulty. I'm actually pretty confident on my navigation skills in Shanghai. So I feel like that should be covered. That now with Google Maps, with everything, it's not that hard to get around. That's for the first one, for navigating. And also, as long as I get like the right address, I think it should be fine. And of course, with my right hand Chinese person, which I will have in the committee.
Yes.
The second point was, I think, about how difficult it will be to like actually achieve everything as director of external affairs. So I think really with everything comes a lot of dedication, your personality, how you actually come off to people, and then also the support of the school. So I really hope that I will get the support from Student Life or whoever I report to in NYU Shanghai, all the support that I need to actually achieve all these things. And it's not, oh, she's just a sophomore. Well, at that point, now I'm a freshman, but once I get to there, it won't be like, oh, she's just a sophomore, she's just a kid talking and wanting to do this. So I do think that as long as once the negotiations come, or once you start talking to these businesses and these companies, as long as you demonstrate how committed you are to whatever it is, the goal that you want to pursue, or how determined, how motivated you show for your goals, and that it's serious talk. It's not just a freshman who has crazy ideals, or a sophomore who wants to do all these things but doesn't even know what to do. So as long as we detail very specifically and we address in the right way to the right companies with the back of the school, of course, I think that it can be achieved, as long as the school support is there, because that is really fundamental. Because in that case, once we go there, I'm not going to be Ariana Alvarez. My partner is not going to be her name. we're going to be NYU Shanghai. So I feel like regardless of what year we're in, it's really, what really matters is the school and the objectives and the goals that we put for ourselves. So once those are planned out right and it's really set straight and it's like, we want to do this, we want you to be part of this, I think anything can be made. Did that answer
Great.
your question?
Yes, for sure. Thank you so much.